Hello everybody, this is going to be a very different video from my usual stuff, like I wrote a script and everything, but I got the idea for it and I wanted to see if I can make it happen, so yeah, hopefully you all enjoy. The Great Octo Weapons are large, powerful creations that consist of a constructed outer shell containing an octopus tentacle controlling it from the inside. They were invented by Octarian engineers to be used as weapons of mass destruction during the Great Turf War. Their design process can be seen in Scroll 24 from Splatoon 2. The scroll reads, "This looks to be a thesis on the massive weaponry employed by the Octarians. Specifically, this research shows how sentient tentacles are implanted in their machines as a means of control. This science is at least 15 years ahead of the rest of the world." If we look closer at this process, we can see that it starts with some sort of vengeful Octoling spirit-looking thing being implanted into a lone tentacle. This tentacle is then placed inside of a separately constructed piece of machinery in order to achieve control over it. Finally, a power source, usually a zapfish, is added to actually allow the machinery to move around. These machines would have won the Great Turf War for the Octolings, but just before they could, their power source was removed, causing all of the machines to power down. Scroll 13 from Splatoon 1 reads, "Heralded by loud explosions, the Great Octo Weapons quickly stormed the Inkling's central stronghold. Victory for the Octarians seemed all but certain, but due to a plug being carelessly pulled from its socket, their hopes were dashed." So who actually unplugged the Great Octo Weapons? Well, nobody really knows, but it could have been anyone on the battlefield at the time. Anybody. Okay, on to what keeps these weapons up and running. Most of the time, it's just a singular zapfish per machine. The bosses that use a zapfish include Octo Stomp, Octo Nozzle, Octowarl, Octoma, Octo Oven, Octo Samurai's motorcycle, Octo Stomp Neo, and the Octo Shower. Another, stronger source of power is the Great Zapfish, which has only ever been used twice between Splatoon 1 and 2. The Great Zapfish has only ever been used to power DJ Octavio's Octobot Kings 1 and 2. The final source of power is one that we never actually see in either Splatoon game, a wall outlet. We only know about this one because of Scroll 13 that I mentioned earlier. Although, judging by the fact that we never see this form of power used, the Octarians probably decided to stop using it after discovering that Zapfish work much better. So, now that we know how these great weapons are created and powered, let's analyze each one individually. First up, we have the mighty Octo Stomp. This six-sided foe is the first boss in the Splatoon franchise. When the battle starts, he will run right at you on his two weirdly human legs. You will then jump and land on his face, allowing you to climb up one of his three inkable sides and attack his exposed tentacle. Before entering Phase 2, he will scream and break off parts of his body, making himself harder to climb. It should be noted that inking the ground around him can slow him down, giving you more time to think about what comes next. Just ink his sides again after he tries to jump on you and attack the tentacle once more. On to the third phase. More panels will break off of Octo Stomp's body, and a surge of electricity causes some of the platforms to start moving. During this final phase, Octo Stomp will become more accurate with his jumps, making it slightly harder to avoid being splatted. Just be extra quick and precise while inking and swimming up his sides, and you will easily land the final blow on his spirit-infested tentacle. All of this built-up damage then causes both the tentacle itself and the machine to violently explode. Next, we have the dreaded Octo Nozzle. This elephant-like machine is stationary, and uses its runny nose and mechanical legs to send balls of ink rolling across the battlefield. All you have to do is ink its little belly button to stun it, and then climb up the side of its body to attack the exposed tentacle. In Phase 2, it gains an extra belly button while also growing a bit taller. Along with this, it now has the ability to generate a large ball of ink and break it up into a spread shot of smaller ink balls. Just shoot both of its belly buttons, climb up the side, and shoot the tentacle to move on to the final phase. Phase 3 grants the Octo Nozzle 4 belly buttons and increases the size of all of its ink balls. This boss's attacks really aren't that hard to dodge, but in my opinion, it is the cutest Splatoon boss, so that kinda makes up for it. After inking the tentacle one more time, this boss will be defeated, causing it to explode. The rampaging Octowarl is next on the list. This boss is my personal favorite because of its clam-like design, and I don't really know what else. I just think it's a cool boss. Anyway, he starts off the battle by spinning around you while spewing ink all over the arena. Eventually, he will fall over, jump a couple times, and quickly roll towards you. When this occurs, ink as much ground as you can in order to submerge the Octo weapon and reveal its tentacle. Quickly attack the tentacle before he makes it out of your ink to move on to Phase 2. After jumping out of your ink, Octowarl will scream and cause certain parts of the arena to spin, making it harder to line up large ink pools. He will then start spinning and jumping all over again, And if you pay close attention, you can see that the background lights flash in sync with Octowhirl's jumps. Trap him once more and attack the tentacle to move on to phase 3. After screaming again, some of the floor will completely break open and become uninkable, revealing the gears underneath the arena. Octowarl will keep his usual patterns, but if you decide to get closer to him, you will see that he actually uses the outer circle of the arena to keep himself upright while spinning. If you exit this circle, it makes it impossible for Octowarl to roll into you because he just bounces off his track and starts spinning again. After trapping him in your ink one final time and, of course, attacking the tentacle, Octowarl will be defeated. He tries one final time to escape your ink, but ends up spinning so fast that he explodes. Okay, on to the Ravenous Octoma. The Splatoon wiki says that this boss resembles a Zapfish, but I don't really see it. Zapfish don't have giant horrifying teeth and tiny eyes, so yeah. Anyway, this battle starts with the Octoma swimming towards you through the ground. He will then come up and attempt to swallow you whole by trapping you within his teeth. Luckily, these teeth are pretty weak and can be broken with just a few shots of ink. He will then pop out of his ink, and all you have to do is throw a bomb of any kind down his throat to stun him. There are various signs posted around the arena giving you a hint to do this. The Octoma will then fall down into his ink, leaving his tentacle open for attacks. Any remaining teeth act as a last resort barrier for this tentacle, but they're not a very effective defense. Starting phase 2, the Octoma will replace its broken teeth with a new set of stronger silver teeth. He will then repeat his attack cycle of rushing at you and surrounding you, but if you're quick enough, you can completely dodge this attack. Even if you just destroy a few teeth, bombs will still be able to fit through the gaps, once again stunning the Octoma and allowing you to hit him where it hurts. In phase 3, the Octoma will upgrade his teeth one final time to gold teeth, which are the most durable of all the teeth. If you happen to miss throwing a bomb into Octoma's mouth, you will retreat to one of his little hot tub things and shoot his teeth at you. The teeth themselves will open up and shoot one glob of ink at you per tooth. While this is happening, you can destroy the teeth, but it's a bit risky to get close since you might get hit. After retrieving his remaining teeth, he will go back to trying to eat you, so just throw a bomb and attack the exposed tentacle one more time. This causes the Octoma to freak out and panic for a little bit before exploding. The final boss in Splatoon 1 is the Octobot King. This advanced mechanical creation uses the Great Zapfish as a power source and is controlled by DJ Octavio rather than a sentient tentacle. In phase 1, DJ Octavio will shoot 2 homing Octorpedoes at you at any given time. He will also attempt to launch his fists at you, which can be shot and reflected back at the Octobot King. Each reflected punch will push him back until he gets desperate enough to use his Octo Missile. It even has little ladder shades. This projectile must be shot at and reflected 3 times before it actually hits the Octobot King. If you look closely, you can see that DJ Octavio uses spinning punches to knock the missile back at you, which is the only time he uses this move in Splatoon 1. After jumping to a new set of platforms, phase 2 will begin. In this phase, DJ Octavio gains access to his own killer whale laser, which will instantly kill you or break your armor if you get caught in the blast. It's not too hard to dodge though, because you can see where it will shoot before the attack is actually launched. The rest of this phase is similar to phase 1, but the Octo Missile is a bit quicker at the end. It's also worth noting that the Octo Missile can be damaged by not only the hero shot, but also any bombs that explode close enough to it. In phase 3, DJ Octavio gains the ability to shoot 3 missiles at one time, as well as now being able to launch these little Octo Egg things. These Octo Eggs can be shot before they hit the ground to nullify their effects, but if they reach the floor, then either an Octocopter or an Octo Bomber will spawn. Nothing else really changes in this phase, but the balloon fish around you can be used to instantly knock back both the punches and the Octo Missile. Just make sure you don't let either of them hit the ground, because this will prevent you from being able to reflect them. In phase 4, DJ Octavio can now launch 4 Octo Missiles at one time. Along with this, all Octo Eggs will now exclusively spawn Octo Balls, which can only be killed if they are submerged in your ink. Kind of like Octowarl. I bet they're besties. Anyway, nothing else changes in this phase. Finally, we're at phase 5. The Squid Sisters have taken over the radio and Calamari Incantation starts playing. DJ Octavio starts dancing, which you think would distract him, but it only makes him attack faster. His Octo Eggs now spawn Twinticle Octo Troopers, which have the potential to kill you very quickly at close range. Although, he can only shoot 1 egg at a time now, so they're really not that much of an issue. Also, it's a bit hard to notice, but DJ Octavio will actually perfectly hit 3 poses along with Calamari Incantation. Reflecting the Octo Missile 3 final times while it's moving at its fastest will send DJ Octavio flying. All that's left to do is shoot him back into his creation, and the Octobot King will explode into a supernova of ink. Okay, That was a lot of words, so we're just gonna have a short intermission where I tell you about how I literally just saved a turtle. I was practicing driving with my mom, and then we saw a turtle on the road. I went around it really slowly, and I was kind of thinking like, was that even a real turtle? So we drove around again, and then the thing was just moving across the road, so I pulled over, and then the mailman was driving towards it, so me and my mom were just like, oh god, hopefully he doesn't hit it, but it was okay, because he saw it and went around. I then got out and used a paper towel that we just bought to like gently help the turtle get across, but he made it to the other side and then he seemed pretty happy, so that was good. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. Anyway, on to Splatoon 2. The first boss in this Inkalicious sequel is the Octo Oven. This sentient bakery starts off the battle by slowly crawling around before trying to hit you with one of its loaves of bread. It will do this 2 times before pushing out all of its loaves for a third attack. This time, the bread will stay out for a bit, allowing you to ink and climb the loaves and the sides of the machine in order to reach the tentacle. After shooting the tentacle enough times, the Octo Oven will move on to Phase 2, where it will break off some of its sides, making it harder to climb while also shooting out a bunch of columns of ink to make moving around the battlefield harder. These ink columns cannot be destroyed and will actually retract if they come into contact with the Octo Oven. After attacking for a bit longer, all of the bread will shoot out once more, allowing you to climb the machine. The only difference in the climb is that you are forced to ink at least 2 pieces of bread to make it to the top due to some parts now being uninkable. In Phase 3, the bread gains armor, making certain portions uninkable. Then, the Octo Oven attempts to glaze the entire arena in enemy ink. This glazing machine will always spin in the direction closest to where you are, so if you move correctly, you can prevent it from covering a lot of ground. The ink columns from Phase 2 are also arranged differently. Instead of kind of being all over the place, they're now in 4 groups of 3 near the edges of the arena. After the Octo Oven shoots out its bread one final time, you can climb the inkable parts to reach and defeat the tentacle. And in classic Splatoon boss fashion, the Octo Oven explodes. Next, we have the Octo Samurai, or more like the Octo Samurai's bike. I think this boss is actually 2 separate Octarian beings working together. We have the Octo Samurai himself and the actual piece of great Octo weaponry, the Octo Cycle. In Phase 1 of this fight, the Octo Samurai uses the Splat Roller form of the Octo Cycle to attack you. He can swing the roller in front of him to cover a small area around him in ink. After doing this a few times, he will jump across the arena and use the Octo Cycle in its true form. After revving up for a bit, the Octo Samurai will dash across the battlefield on the Octo Cycle, leaving a large trail of ink behind him. Getting directly hit by this will instantly break your armor. As the Octo Samurai continues his attack cycle, you must slowly cover him in your ink, eventually splatting him. This leaves the Octo Cycle itself open to be attacked. After it flips over, just shoot the tentacle to push forward into Phase 2. Before actually moving on though, we can see that the Octo Cycle also acts as a respawn point for the Octo Samurai, keeping him in the fight. In Phase 2, the Octo Samurai learns 2 new moves in addition to still using his other ones. He can now jump at you with a vertical swing and swing the Splat Roller in a circle, spreading ink all around himself in the process. The latter move is telegraphed by the Octo Samurai flashing his eyes and raising his weapon, and getting hit by it results in your armor being instantly broken. Just focus on dodging and splatting him before getting another opportunity to damage the Octo Cycle. After reviving once again, the Octo Samurai learns 1 new attack in Phase 3. He can now rapidly spin the roller, allowing himself to perform extra long-range vertical swings in groups of 3, with each swing sending a shockwave of ink along with it. He also uses the Octo Cycle twice in a row now. After using it to dash across the arena once, he will turn around and dash towards you 1 additional time before resting for a bit. After splatting him for a 3rd time, you can deal the final bit of damage to the Octo Cycle's tentacle, disabling its respawn functionality and causing it to, you guessed it, explode. This great Octo weapon is making a comeback from Splatoon 1. It's the Octo Stomp. He'll start off the battle by quickly sliding towards you before jumping and landing on his face. Just like his first fight, all you have to do is ink up his sides and climb to attack the exposed tentacle. After being damaged, Octo Stomp will put on a stylish, ink-resistant coat revealing his new and improved form, Neo Octo Stomp. Not only does this armor protect Neo Octo Stomp from being inked, it also allows him to deploy a Splatling gunner on top of his head to shoot ink at you. Just be aggressive while chasing him across the arena in order to destroy the buckle securing his armor. After you break his buckle, Neo Octo Stomp will revert back to his Phase 1 attacks, allowing you to ink his sides and damage the tentacle for a 2nd time. In Phase 3, Neo Octo Stomp will put on an improved version of his coat, tripling his attack range with his 2 extra faces in the process. He will slide across the stage and face plant very rapidly in this phase, while still being able to use his Splatling gunner as a ranged option. However, he still only has one single buckle holding everything together, so just destroy that once more to get rid of both his extra faces and his coat. After climbing him and inking the tentacle one last time, Neo Octo Stomp will be defeated. Just like Splatoon 1, this reused rapscallion will then explode. The final Zapfish-powered boss of Splatoon 2 is the Octo Shower. This oversized faucet must be carried around by octocopters and is equipped with a wide variety of attacks. In this first phase, he can use his own Octo Sniper weapon, which takes some time to charge up before use and is telegraphed by a red line. He can also launch 2 Octorpedoes at a time, which can be destroyed in just a few shots of ink each. Additionally, the octocopters carrying the Octo Shower can also attack you, but they're pretty easy to avoid. Also, the Octo Shower can launch a stream of ink straight down while staying stationary to prevent the player from hiding underneath it. After you defeat the octocopters carrying the Octo Shower, he will fall to the ground and leave his tentacle open for attacks. In Phase 2, the Octo Shower calls in 4 Octo Troopers to get it back into the air. After being picked up, the Octo Shower uses a hand-cranked Splatling as another long-range option. It takes some time to get going, but eventually starts rapid-firing ink at you. Another new move is the Ink Shower Dash, where the Octo Shower will release a heavy amount of ink straight down as it dashes across the entire arena. Focus on climbing the various towers to get into a position where you can defeat all 4 Octo Troopers, bringing the Octo Shower back down to the ground for another round of damage. In the final phase, Deluxe Octocopters arrive to support the Octo Shower. These enemies are much harder to hit because they will actively dash to avoid your attacks. The Octo Shower itself gains the ability to use its own Stingray, which follows you around the battlefield while also piercing through any walls and platforms. After defeating the Deluxe Octocopters, the Octo Shower will fall from grace for the final time and expose its tentacle. It tries one last time to summon more help, but nobody shows up. And can you guess what happens next? That's right, the Octo Shower goes to its local fruit market to pick up some healthy snacks. Oh, wait, no, it just explodes like everybody else. We've finally made it to the final boss of Splatoon 2, the Octobot King 2. I want to start this one off by saying that even though both DJ Octavio and Callie are riding on the Octobot King 2, I'm 99% sure that DJ Octavio has control over all the attacks and stuff, and Callie's just there for support. Anyway, this fight starts off with DJ Octavio launching 2 flying fists at you. Just like Splatoon 1, these fists can be reflected back at the Octobot King 2 by shooting at them enough times. Unlike Splatoon 1, these fists can still be reflected back even if they hit the ground. DJ Octavio will then fire a spinning punch at you, which cannot be reflected back. Not long after, he will toss out 4 large splat bombs along with Callie singing, which explode and ink a limited area around them. Keep knocking the punches back until eventually DJ Octavio himself is knocked out of the Octobot King 2. Just shoot him after he lands on the arena to push forward into Phase 2. In this phase, DJ Octavio will sometimes raise up before launching his fist at you, which honestly doesn't really do much, but he also starts launching tentacle-filled takoyaki balls, which can be shot down before they hit the ground. If they do manage to reach the ground, they will spiral into takoyaki tornadoes, making it harder to move around. This is also a good time to mention that even if you don't ink a fist enough to actually reflect it, it will still be covered in your ink the next time it's launched, making it easier to send the punches back. At some point, DJ Octavio will start to use his own ink shower attack, dashing across the arena while leaving a trail of ink behind him. He will also start to use more double fist attacks during this phase. This includes both the normal and spinning varieties. After knocking enough attacks back, Octavio will once again fall out of his creation, vulnerable to attacks. Oh, and if you shoot him away from the Octobot King 2, then he'll do this weird little boomerang maneuver to get back to it. At this point, Marie will show up and snipe Callie right in her face, knocking the Hypno Shades off and stunning her in the process. This makes DJ Octavio panic and start attacking faster. He can now use a dash punch, making it slightly harder to shoot his fist back at him. Also, he can now launch both a normal fist and a spinning one at the same time, which can be a bit confusing but still not too bad. The final new attack he uses is his suction bombs, which take a longer time to detonate but cover a wider area in ink. After reflecting a few more punches, DJ Octavio will fall to the arena for a 3rd time. Shooting him back again lets Callie come to her senses. After she jumps off the Octobot King 2 to reunite with Marie, the final phase of the battle will begin. After receiving a modded Rainmaker from Sheldon, you have to chase DJ Octavio into the sky on an ink rail. The only moves that he can use now are his punching attacks. Normal punches can be reflected by 1 shot from the Rainmaker, while spinning punches still cannot be sent back and must be jumped over. If you shoot the Octobot King 2 itself, it will get knocked back a tiny bit, but it doesn't really do much overall. Just like Splatoon 1, DJ Octavio will hit 3 poses along to Spicy Calamari Incantation, which is just perfect in my opinion. After reflecting enough punches, the Octobot King 2 will fall to the ground, leaving DJ Octavio open for one final attack. Just ride the inner ride rail until you can jump off and slam the Rainmaker directly onto his face. This final blow causes both DJ Octavio and his Octobot King 2 to go full-on Ink Supernova for the last time. There's one last thing I wanted to talk about regarding the Great Octo Weapons, and it's their sanitized counterparts in the Deep Sea Metro. These bosses include the Octo Oven XXL, Revenge of Octo Samurai, Octo Stomp Redux, and the Octo Shower Supreme. I'm not going to be talking about these ones in depth because they're just upgraded copies of the other bosses, with faster attacks and sometimes other sanitized enemies to help them fight. Also, they weren't even built by the Octarians, they were built by the Kamabo Corporation. Their mechanical parts were probably just built normally, but the interesting part about them is their sanitized tentacles. Kamabo Co. must have just found some spare sentient tentacles lying around and put them through their sanitization process, allowing them to take control of these great octo weapons. Besides, you fight all of these bosses the same way you would fight their normal counterparts. Even though some require you to use abilities like the Baller or Inkjet, the concept is still the same. Oh, and do you know how else you can tell that these great octo weapons are just stolen copies? Say it with me, because they all explode at the end. Alright, we've finally reached the end of the video. Honestly, I just wanted to make this because I think the Great Octo Weapons are some of the most interesting and fun bosses in any game I've ever played. Not to mention all the extra lore that you can learn about them, like how they're made to how they were defeated in the Great Turf War. It's just really interesting to me, and with Splatoon 3 coming out really soon, I thought it would be a perfect video idea. However, I have to talk about something that might surprise you a bit. None of the gameplay clips in this video were recorded by me. 99% of the clips came from Chuggaconroy's playthrough of both Splatoon games, and the other 1% came from one ZackScott video. I only use their videos because I don't have a capture card to record my own stuff, which definitely made it a bit harder for me while writing the script and editing, but I think I made it work pretty good. But of course, I have to give them credit because this video wouldn't be possible without their playthroughs. Oh, and all my sources are in the description if you need to see anything else. So yeah, this was a very different video for me, but it was really fun to make, so hopefully you all enjoyed it and maybe learned something new. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!